Welcome to Day 4 of Tamil Heritage Trust Indology Festival 2020. Thank you for joining today's festival. We hope that you participated in the previous days of this festival, and we look forward to your continued participation for the rest of this event. Before we start today's proceedings, a quick introduction to Tamil Heritage Trust and its activities. Tamil Heritage Trust was founded in the year 2010 and is an organization based in Chennai. The purpose of Tamil Heritage Trust is to create a platform that enables understanding, appreciation, celebration, dissemination of the rich Indian heritage. Towards this, we run different programs and events. Through our monthly talks, we offer a platform for both serious enthusiasts and experts alike to talk about various a wide range of subjects that come under the gamut of Indian heritage. This could be topics like architecture, painting, sculpture, music, literature, and various other aspects of our Indian heritage. We also run intense workshops for the general public. One of the workshops that we offer is called How to See a Temple, which is a workshop aimed at helping the general public gain better appreciation of the heritage inside a temple. This includes aspects like the temple architecture, iconography, and the inscriptions. We also run other workshops such as the Pallava Grantha workshop, which is helped at enabling participants towards reading and deciphering the Grantha script and be able to read inscriptions in Pallava era monuments such as Mamallapuram and Kanchipuram. Every year, during the Chennai Music Festival in December, we also run a two-day workshop, a two-day seminar, which is a series of talks, which is called Pechu Kacheri. This Pechu Kacheri is basically a series of lectures organized around a central topic. Another feature of the Tamil Heritage Trust's activities is the annual site seminar. Every year, we organize this during the month of January, and we visit a heritage site in India, which not just includes visiting the heritage site, but also intense preparation in the months leading up to the tour. Recently, the Trust also instituted the THT Professor Swaminathan Award to recognize an individual who has made exceptional contributions towards understanding, dissemination, and preservation of the Indian heritage. With this Indology Festival, Tamil Heritage Trust is looking to bring experts not just within India, but also around the world to celebrate Indology. During this week-long festival, our endeavor is to enable collaboration and exchange of ideas between experts, academia, and a heritage-loving audience. Keeping in mind the festive spirit, we have also organized several contests around the festival. If you are a heritage blogger, or if you like to write about heritage, or if you like to take videos about heritage monument, these contests would be a great fit for you. The program itself is structured for 7 days. Every day we would have 2 talks starting 7 p.m. India time. The talks will be followed by a discussion with the program chair, and then that will be followed by a Q&A with the audience. We request all participants to type their questions in the YouTube chat session. Today is the 4th day of the festival. We also encourage participants to spread the word about this Indology Festival. If you're on social media, please share about this festival widely using the hashtag THT INDOFEST 2020. That is THT IndoFest 2020. I would now like to introduce our program chair, who will then introduce today's speakers. It is my great pleasure to introduce Madhusudanan Kalaiselvan. Madhusudanan is an architect by profession, and he specializes in the conservation and architectural research. He has also been a mentor to students from various architectural schools. He is well versed in the field of art, architecture, heritage, cultural studies, and vernacular practices. He is also a popular speaker on a wide range of subjects pertaining to Indian heritage. He curates and conducts tours to various places of architectural and cultural interest. His contributions have earned him the well-coveted Vedavalli Memorial Award for Outstanding Service by a young achiever in the field of South Indian heritage. Madhusudan is also the recipient of the first edition of the THT Professor Swaminathan Award, which he received this year in 2020. I would like to now hand over the program to our program chair, Madhusudan Kalaichal. Thank you.
Thank you, Tamil Heritage Trust, for that introduction and the privilege here to chair this session. Like many of you, I was also curious to know how exactly Tamil Heritage Trust is going to handle its Pechu Kacheri, which over the years has become a significant part of the typical Chennaites Margadi calendar. With several kacheris, music and dance and drama happening around, if there is an organization that strives to work towards heritage and present something very conceptual, well put, very well planned, and organizes it at a level where you really don't think it's just a bunch of volunteers who are working behind it. Tamil Heritage Trust, of course, needs no introduction. It's quite popular as an organization that is run by volunteers, so much so professional that you really doubt if it's just volunteers or is it more. Very committed professionals committed towards heritage, Tamil culture, Indian arts, Indian architecture, various verticals of heritage. And though they call themselves as non-profit organizations at their level, I should say, audience, all of us are all profited at an immense level. So this organization's activities that was just discussed, the star attraction of their annual calendar is, of course, the December Pechu Kacheri, which was started, of course, as a week-long program. Then it got reduced to a weekend sessions. And this year, with all programs formulating their own method to accommodate it, given the challenges around, we have Tamil Heritage Trust, which is shifted its Pechu Kacheri into a very, very interesting format online and celebrating Indology, calling it as Indology Festival, calling experts from various different fields, picking out different verticals of Indology, organizing it, put together a week-long session, a week-long program with sessions, chaired sessions, and you have two experts in similar fields working on different branches of similar fields to share their knowledge with us, generic and specific to their research. And today we have architecture as the core topic, Indian architecture to be specific, taken. Architecture is, of course, one of the most ancient technologies, aesthetics involved, and that which has been there, researched upon ever since human race started being active here on Earth. Shelter is one amongst the three basic requirements, and architecture evolves from there. However, humble, with a lot of aesthetics added to it, material technology, engineering, planning parts, structural aspects. So putting space into efficient usage, all of this makes architecture a kind of art supported with technology and technical aspects. Here in India, ours is one of the most ancient architectural system that has evolved region specific and has general features across the country. So as an ancient civilization, Indian architecture boasts of various different schools that has evolved over different regions, over different periods, different phases, taking into consideration climatic condition, topographic constraints, material availability, need and necessity, culture, religion, society, economics, all of these will have an impact either directly or indirectly in any ancient school of architecture. And here in India, we have a school that has flourished, documented through literature several thousand years back, and now in practice, at least a little more than 2000 years. Every region has its own region-specific text which speaks about the grammar, but I should say some of the samples that we have are dated much even before these texts or guidebooks or manuals for architecture came in. And to explore Indian architecture, which is the central theme for today's, over the Indology week, the festival that we're celebrating, today's topic and specific area of concentration is architecture. So we have two experts specialized and very popular in their own field of expertise here with us to share their knowledge. We have Dr. G. Shankaranarayanan, a name that's very popular amongst social media users, especially people who look forward for topics and handles that discusses aspects of Indian archaeology, Indian arts, traditional literature, Tamil and Sanskrit. So we have the one-stop solution and a person who is really easily reachable with any doubts on these fields. A professor from National Sanskrit University at Tirupati, a multilingual scholar. He's presented several papers at national and international conferences in his areas of research and expertise. Published a 1,200-page compilation of Chola copper plates. That's an achievement in all its senses. So copper plate inscriptions for the Tamil University of Tanjavur. Co-edited Bharatavani, a collection of moral sayings from Mahabharata. Co-edited the multilingual Dictionary of Sanskrit and 12 Indian languages. Composed several Sanskrit slokas and Tamil poems, having read some of them myself, I should add that here. Edited and published rare palm leaf manuscripts. Discovered and published 10 new lithic inscriptions. Trained in Bharatanatyam with Padma Shri Dr. Chitra Vishweshwaran. A specialist in Bharata Shastra, a person who is a scholar in all its sense and an example for being very humble, on the other hand being such a scholar. And we have Dr. G. Shankaranarayanan, who will be presenting on the South Indian temple architecture, an overview and a comparison. So we have the south of India, as per the Dravida School of Architecture, we have this school practiced predominantly in Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Kerala, Andhra, and parts of Odisha too. So that's it's like, how are they going to be different? What are the similarities too? So how there is a mix that is there, and the exclusive norms that are to be followed, and what happens when there is an overlap, and how each of the states, as we see it today, follows the school. The similarities and differences. That's going to be the gist of Dr. G. Shankaranarayanan's talk. I'm as eager as all of you to listen to two great men speak on their field of expertise.
Namaste. Good morning to one and all. I take this opportunity to thank Tamil Heritage Trust for providing me this opportunity to deliver a lecture on South Indian temple architecture. Before going into the lecture, I want to make a point clear that the Indian temple architecture is indigenous and was not borrowed from any foreign source. As a testimonial, we have so many scriptural references to state this point from our ancient scriptures, starting from even Rigveda. Even in Rigveda, we have references for civil structures as well as religious structures. So keeping this in mind, we have to go into the lecture, and now we are entering into the lecture. I am Dr. G. Shankaranarayanan, Professor of Sanskrit at National Sanskrit University, Tirupati. Traces of temple structures can be seen from Vedic period, not from the period which is stated by the scholars, that is 6th BCE or 5th BCE, or after the Buddhism and Jainism have evolved. But we have traces even from Vedic period. This particular mantra from Rigveda, which is in the 7th mandala and the 88th sukta, and the 5th mantra says that Sahasra Dwaram Jagamagriham Te. We entered your house which had 1,000 doors. So such type of imagination even existed even during the Vedic period. This is the reference we are having from our Vedic scriptures. And at least 14 references, direct references are there in Dharma Sutras and Griha Sutras, which are dated to 5th BCE by the modern scholars too. So we have references of temples, that is religious structures, even before Buddhist and Jains built their structures. We have terms like Devakula, Devatayatana, and Devayatana in Dharma Sutras and Grihya Sutras to be the testimony for stating this point that Devakulas and Devayatanas existed even during the 5th century BCE. Particularly, the Dharma Sutra says that after 6 months of a born child, the child has to be taken into a Devatayatana for first feeding. So these are the references we have in Dharma Sutras and Grihya Sutras to state that we had temples even during the 5th century BCE, and the religious temples are the Vedic temples, don't have any origin from Buddhist or Jain structure. Of course, there are some give and take policies between these dharmas like Vedic religion as well as the Buddhist and Jain religion, but we have our own origin of temples which is stated in our ancient scriptures. And in the present lecture, the South Indian temple architecture can be divided into 4 groups like Tamil Nadu architecture, Karnataka architecture, Kerala architecture, and Andhra-Kalinga architecture. These denote the art-wise or the architecture-wise regions or the limits of the temple architecture, and not as the present political regions, because the Kerala architecture was there in the southern Karnataka and the Karnataka architecture was there in the Andhra region also. So the present political limits are not considered for this grouping, and the architectural features are considered to have these groups in our lecture. So keeping this in mind, we have to see the architectural features of each and everything. Primordial forms of mansions reproduced in the reliefs of Amaravati, Ghantachala, etc., which are dated to the first few centuries of the Common Era. So we have so many mansions and relief and so many civil structures and religious structures from Amaravati, Ghantachala, Sannati, etc. And these structures, though Buddhist structure, they have references for the contemporaneous civil structures. So we can see the contemporaneous civil structures through the reliefs of Amaravati, Ghantachala, Sannati, etc. The huts of Vritta, Ayatashara and Chapakara, that is circular, rectangular and apsidal, Shala, that is wagon type huts and kutas are seen in these reliefs, which clearly states that Indian architecture can be dated to before Common Era, and we have so many structures, developed structures even during the first few centuries of the Common Era. These are the reliefs from Amaravati. There we can see some huts with circular structure and with apsidal structure, and in the another diagram we have even Simhapanjaras, which seems to be the predominant feature of the Bharhut and other stupas, and this is explained in Vastu text too. Hence, we have sophisticated structures like Simhapanjara even during the first few centuries of Common Era, which can be traced from Amaravati, Ghantachala, Jagayapeta, Sannati, etc. And some more we are seeing, we can see a dome with a wonderful Nasika, where in the Gadha portion or the inner portion is decorated with a head of a Gandharva Stri or a Gandharva woman. And we can see a Sabha type of architecture from one of the reliefs of Amaravati in the right side. And here we can see the developed architecture which is seen in the first centuries of Common Era. And we have other Sabha with inscriptions which says that the present structure is Sabha, and we have so many Sabha structures, even in the later architecture, particularly in Tamil Nadu, we have Sabhakara Vimanas dedicated for Nataraja. In so many places, we have Sabhas, and even for seven mothers like Saptamatrikas, we have Sabhakara Vimana. And in the another panel, we have Simhapanjaras and the balconies, that is the Bhadravalokana. We can see the structure of Bhadravalokana as well as the Simhapanjara structures in the other relief. So we have so many traces for these structures, the developed structures, even from the first few centuries of Common Era. And we have other structures like Buddhist stupa, and we have the Hara structure, particularly from the Amaravati relief and Jagayapeta relief. We can see each and every tala, each and every layer of stupa structure of a religious building, which is decorated with Nasikoshta, which is called in later scriptural texts, and we have so many such Nasikoshtas decorating a superstructure of a religious building. And this is one from Sannati. We have a full model of a religious structure which is dated to 2nd or 3rd century CE, and we can see the pillars, the columns, as well as the superstructure which is divided into Nasikas or Nasi Koshtams, which clearly says that the religious structure existed even before the Common Era. So the development is seen here. So the origin could be in the before Common Era period. Now we are entering into the Tamil Nadu temple architecture, which can be seen from the southern Andhra to the southern Tamil Nadu, except the Kanyakumari region, which can be added to the Kerala temple architecture. And even from the Sangam period, we have traces or references to a temple structure. Particularly in Agananuru, in the verse 167, it says that Ittigai Nadunjuvar Vittam Vundana Manipura Turanda Maranjer Madatu Yedudani Kadavul Kovalir Pullandru. This says that the Nedunjuvar, the wall was built by Ishtika, that is bricks, and the Vittam, the Karnis is also referred here, and Manipura Turanda Maranjer Madam. The Madam or the nurses were made by Maranjer Madam, that is, those were made by wooden structures, and they were divided of Manipura pigeons. And it clearly says that Yeludani Kadavul. So the image of a god was drawn in the rear part of the wall. This can be referred from Agananuru 167, verse 167. So we can say that, we can clearly emphasize that religious structures as well as temples and other religious structures existed even during the Sangam period, which is referred here in Agananuru. And references are there to state that even the holy trees and ant hills were worshipped during the Sangam period, and the holy trees became temples in later stages according to the modern research scholars, which we can see in so many places like Thiruvanaka, and there are so many kas, which means a forest is referred as a temple or a temple related city. So these are the basic references even from the Sangam period, that is which the text belonging to the first few centuries of Common Era. So we have traces or references even from Sangam period for religious structures and temples. Temples and civil structures are mentioned in Sangam poetry several times. There are so many references for temples and civil structures in Sangam poetry, and Malaipadukadam is one of some such text which mentions a temple for Kari Undi Kadavul, and a reference of Shiva was made by Avvayar while she portrays Adiyaman when he gave the Nelikani or the Dhatri fruit or the Amla fruit. And we can clearly see the impact of tribal civil structures in all places. We can see the temple-like structure which belonged to a Toda tribal group, and these structures have influence over the civil structures as well as the religious structures over the years. So these could be the origin or the primordial structures of the present architecture, both civil and religious structures. And these are the tribal structures where we can see the sabhakara or the prolonged or the rectangular or the ayatashara type of architecture. These are the structure even today we can see in the tribal area, in the hilly area we can see this type of structures. So these could be the basic structures or the origin for the present temple architecture or the religious structure. Here we can see a Varandika type of architecture which is called in the Karnataka temple architecture. This is called as Varandika, and the whole temple can be called as Mundamala, which we can see later. So this could be the origin or the primordial structure of Varandika type of superstructure. And we have a Kutakara structure, that is a hut-like structure here in the right, which could be the model or the origin for the Kutakara structure, which we can see in Mahabalipuram as Draupadi Ratha. So we have Shalakara, Kutakara and Sabhakara types of structures even in the tribal areas and in the traces from reliefs of Amaravati and other such places and in the scriptures. So these types of Vimanas we can see in Mahabalipuram from 7th to 8th century CE. We can see a Kutakara structure, a Dravidian type of structure, and a Sabhakara or a Shalakara type of structure, and again a Dravidian structure, and we have an apsidal structures. So these could be traced from the Sangam period structures as well as the development of tribal structures. Now we can take the first one, the Draupadi Ratha, which is seen in the left edge, and we can see the decorative motifs are there in the superstructure, which clearly says that earlier timber structure or the wooden structure is replaced with stone. Hence, we can see the connecting portion is replaced with the stone decorative motif. So this could be the reference to state that wooden structure were existing even before these structures, and those were replaced with stone during the period of Pallava regime. Kochengadan, who belongs to 4th to 5th century CE, said to have built 70 temples around Tamil Nadu, which is referred by Alvars and others, and these are renovated in later period, but these have a special feature which is called as Mada Koil or Madakara Vimana. This type of religious structure is called as Mada Koil or a Madakara structure, and Kochengadan is said to be built 70 temples of Mada Koils. And the temple of 3rd century CE was unearthed at Salavankuppam near Mamallapuram during the tsunami which happened during 2004, which clearly tells that how temples existed during this 3rd century CE. And we can see the brick structures as well as the small structures made out of stones. So this is the basic structure which clearly follows the scriptural references, that is the Vinyasa Sutra and other such recommendations which are prescribed in the Vastu text or the Shilpa text. And at Vepatur we have a brick temple which is renovated recently, and we can see the old structure here which said to be belongs to the 5th or 6th century CE. These could be the earliest traces of temple architecture in Tamil Nadu. And in the Vaikuntha Perumal temple, we have a series of panels stating the history of Pallavas, and one of such panel has building a temple by a king. Panels from Kanchi Vaikuntha Perumal temple give references to earlier temples. So not from 7th or 8th century CE. Even before that, Pallava have built so many temples, but those temples were built using perishable materials like mortar, bricks, etc. So those temples are not existing today to be compared with the present structures. And there is a confusion between the terms like Nagara, Dravida and Veshara. it is generally conceived that Nagara means the North Indian temples which has square base and square superstructure, and the Dravidian classes belongs to the place Tamil Nadu, and the structures in Tamil Nadu can be called as Dravida, and the structures which are round in shape or the otherwise are called as Veshara. But we have some references which states the other thing, the other side of these explanation of these terms, like Nagaram Dravidam Chaiva Vesharam Sarvadeshikam Kalingam cha Varatam cha Shadvidham Tviha Kirtitam. This is a verse from Kamikagama in the 49th Patala and 2 to 3 shlokas, which says there are 6 types of temples like Nagara, Dravida, Veshara, Sarvadeshika, Kalinga and Varata. These are the 6 types of temples, and the differentiation is there, like Vindhyantam Chaiva Krishnantam, Kanyantam to Himachala. From Himachala, that is the Himalayan hills, Vindhyantam, up to Vindhya mountain, it is called as Nagara, and up to Krishna, the river Krishna, it could be called as Veshara, and up to Kanya, that is Kanyakumari, Cap Comorin, the structures can be called as Dravida. This is the general concept which is conceived by the all researchers in the field of architecture. But we have other type of explanation for these terms. Upanath stupi paryantam yugashram nagaram bhavet. Upanath, from the foot, from the base of the temple, and stupi paryantam, till the edge of the temple. If the temple is yugashra, quadrangular, then that can be called as nagaram. And kantat prabhriti vrittam yat, from the griva portion, if it is circular, then it should be called as vesharam. And kantat prabhriti vasvashram, which is octagonal from kanta or griva, then that can be called as dravidam according to other scriptures. So we can see Nagara, Dravida and Veshara in Tamil Nadu according to the agamic prescriptions, but according to other prescriptions, the Nagara is constrained to the North India, and the middle portion have the temples of Veshara, and in the lower portion or the south portion has the temples of Dravida type. This is the confusion regarding the terms Nagara, Veshara and Dravida. And pre-Pallava brick temples are not fully available to compare the structures between the other later developed structures with the Pallava structures. And even the cave temples have decorative motifs and other elements which trace its existence from a very ancient period. Even in the cave temples, we can see decorative motifs like Nasika and other Hara structures, which clearly tells that the temple architecture was existing even from a very long period, and it was not developed during the 7th century CE. Developments were there even before 7th century CE. Origin of columns of whole Deccan has so many similarities, and the definition and terminology of parts can be seen from the following text. Vastu texts like Kashyapa Shilpa Shastra, Mayamata, Manasara, etc., and Agamas like Shaivagama and Vaishnavagama, and Nighantu even prescribes the materials to be used for a temple and the parts of temple, etc. So the terminology and definition can be seen from the following texts. Typical structure of a Tamil Nadu Vimana will have 6 limbs, 6 parts with Adhisthana, Padavarga, Prastaravarga, Griva, Shikhara and Stupi. These are the 6 parts of a Tamil Nadu architecture, where in Kamikagama we can see 8 parts like Moolam, Masurakam Janga, Kapotam, Shikharam Galam, Urdhvecha, Amala Sarena, Ashtavarga, Kumbhashula Yuk. We can see a Shula as well as a Moolam. Shulam can be seen in some of the Andhra temples, and some type of patakas or the flags can be seen in the North Indian temples, and the Moolam can be taken as the Upapitha, which is mentioned later in the Kamikagama. So these are the 8 parts of a temple prescribed in Kamikagama. And this is a typical structure of a Tamil Nadu temple. Actually, this is a mover koval from one of the temples of Mover Kovil from Kodumbalur. Here we can see the Adhisthana portion, the Padavarga portion, Prastara portion. The Prastara portion has haras and grihapindi, etc. And we can see the griva portion, shikhara and stupi. Here we can see the Padma Pushkala Adhisthana, one of the varieties of Padmabandha Adhisthana, which clearly has its origin from Tamil Nadu. So we have a Upana, a greater Padma, that is a lotus, and a Kumuda and a Pratikantha. We have in the Adhisthana Varga, and in the Pada Varga, the Bhittistambhas are there, that is the pilasters are there, the Bhittistambhas, and clear projection of Bhadra, that is the central portion, and the Karna or the corner portions are clearly there in typical Tamil Nadu temple architecture, which cannot be seen in other temple architecture of South India. Even in Rashtrakuta temples and in Chalukya temples, we can see some sort of projections, but here we can see a fine projection of Karna and Bhadra portions across the Vinyasa Sutra as are the line drawn as per the sculptural scripts. So we have the Prastara Varga, the Kapota Palika here with decorative motifs like Nasika and Konapatta, etc. And above that, we have a Hara with Karnakutas and a Shala at the middle, and we have some Vrittasputita type of decorations, and we have above another Kapota Varga is there, which disseminates or demarcate each and every Tala, and after that we have the Griva portions, which has Vrisha or the bull at the corners, and we have a central Nasi Koshta or a Mahanasi in the center, and the Shikhara or the dome has the Mahanasi, and we have the Stupi, the edge part is there. So these are the 6 parts which are there in the typical Tamil Nadu temple architecture. And we can see the same type of structure in some of the Karnataka architecture as well as the Andhra architecture. Though there are some similarities, Kerala temple architecture is somewhat different in these 6 structures. Architecture from 7th CE can be divided into 3 groups: cave temples, monolithic temple, and structural temples. We have cave temples like this. This is from Mandagapattu, which is stated to be the first cave temple built by Mahendra Pallava in the North Tamil Nadu region. And here we can see a shloka or a verse where he states that he built Brahmeshwara Vishnu Lakshitayatana, the Lakshitayatana which is dedicated to Brahma, Ishvara and Vishnu by the king by not using Anishtaka, that is not using the bricks as well as the metal and a mortar and other perishable things. He had made this temple by stone for Brahma, Ishvara and Vishnu, and this is considered to be the first cave temple in northern region of Tamil Nadu. And after that we have so many examples for monolithic temple and structural temple. Here we can see 9 monolithic temple in Mamallapuram itself. According to scholars, the date is different from scholar to scholar, and we have these structures in Mamallapuram, which could be the examples of 96 types of Vimanas. And we have Pandya cave temples, where we have clear reference of Jayantan or the Shentan, who belongs to the second quarter of 7th century CE. We have cave temples which were renovated in the later period, but the original cave temple belongs to the 7th century CE. And this is the first structural temple which is available today, made up of stone in Tamil Nadu. This is there in Kuram near Tamil Nadu. Here we can see the apsidal structure. So apsidal structures we have throughout the 4 states, but we have limited apsidal structures in Karnataka and Andhra, where we have so many apsidal structures in Tamil Nadu and Kerala. This is the huge temple which can be called as architectural marvel by the temple architectural researchers, and this was built during the first quarter of 8th century CE. This is Kailasnatha temple, and this is called as Raja Rajeshwaram Atimanam Atyadbhutam by the builder Rajasimha Pallava during the first quarter of 8th century CE. And we can see all the structures, all the decorative motifs, and each and every prescribed things, prescribed architectural items in this temple. This is called as a Jati temple because it has 4 talas. The definition of a Jati temple is that a minimum of 4 talas should be there, and up to 16 talas it is allowed. And we have a Bhadra projection, that is the central projection is there. The central wagon type roof is projected before the Vinyasa Sutra, as well as we have other structures which are prescribed for a Jati Vimana. Tamil Nadu is the only state which has at least six Jati Vimanas. You cannot find in other states the Jati Vimanas. Even in Kerala, we have a maximum of 3 talas, 3 layers in Kerala. And in Karnataka, maximum of 4 talas are there. And as well as in Andhra, we have 4 talas in the Vimana, not in the Gopura. Gopura is a different thing from the Vimana. And in the Vimana, at least we have 6 Jati Vimanas only in Tamil Nadu. This is one of the special features of Tamil Nadu architecture. And we have the Karna shrines. The Karna Harmyas are the special features of this temple, as well as the temple in Panamalai, which was built by the same king. So we have Karna shrines as well as the Shala shrines around the main shrines, which is called as Khanda Harmyam, a special feature described in Manasara as well as in other scriptures. And we have a Malika, a cluster which is made up of a small shrines, which is called as Padma Malika in Kamikagama. And we have a mandapa before that, and the connecting place was built during a very later period by 16th century CE. So this can be called as an architectural wonder by the scholars. And these are the other temples of Pallava period. This one is the temple in Panamalai near Senji, which was built by the same king who built the Kailasanatha temple. This too has the Bhadra shrines, that is Khanda Harmyas, in each and every direction. And this one is from Kanchipuram. This can be dated to the later age of the Rajasimha Pallava, where we have the Koshtamurtis clear. That is the images in the Koshtas, the Naishas, very clear. And this has a special feature. It has a mancha, a special thing, a special item in the superstructure. And this is allotted to Dantivarma during the end of 8th century CE or the starting of 9th century CE, where in the superstructure we can see a similarity between a Karnataka temple architecture. Because in Karnataka temple architecture, in the Kadambanagara or such type of temples, we can see a small type of talas over the great bhitti or the great Padavarga or the ground level. So we can see a same type of influence here in the temple, which was allotted to Dantivarma Pallava. And we have a Mover Koval built during the 9th century, end of 9th century CE. We can clearly see the typical temple architecture of Tamil Nadu. We have the Adhisthana, the Padavarga, and the superstructures with Vritta Sputita, etc., which we have seen earlier. And we have now visualizing a great structure of Tamil Nadu, which has 16 talas, the maximum talas prescribed for a Jati Vimana, and a long cluster and other mandapas and other structures, even a Shukanasi, which is borrowed from Karnataka temple architecture. And we have the first huge Gopuras in Kailasanatha temple. The Gopura structure began. And we have a clear Gopura, Keralantaka Gopura and Rajaraja Gopura, etc., which were renovated during the Nayaka period. But the original structure is still intact. We can see the clear structure of a typical Tamil Nadu temple architecture, which can be called as another temple marvel or architectural marvel in terms of architectural features. So we have a huge temple, which is now known as Big Temple of Tanjore. So this is attained by Cholas this type of magnanimity was achieved by Cholas during the 10th century or the starting of 11th century CE. And this type of chariot type of temples were built during the 12th century CE, the starting of 12th century CE during the reign of Kulothunga I. This could be, the date could be 1111, and we can see a square type of base and octagonal type of griva or the superstructure, and a dome itself is in round shape or circular, where we can see a Shivalinga in the whole temple or the whole sanctum sanctorium, and we have a projection before the Shala or the Bhadra portion, and we have so many carvings and so many decorative motifs over the temple. And we have Gopuras which were built during the Pandya period. Here we can see that Gopura which was built by Krishnadevaraya, which has the inscription of Krishnadevaraya during the 16th century CE, a huge Gopura of Ekamranatha temple at Kanchipuram, which has all the features. It has a Upapitha, it has a Adhisthana with niches, and it has a superstructure with Shalakara Vimana, that is the wagon type of superstructure, and we have Bhadrashala and Pratibhadras are there, Upabhadras are there, and we have the Karnakutas and other decorative elements are there in the superstructure. So these are the development of Tamil Nadu temple architecture over the period. We could see the simple architecture from the monolithic temple and from the structural temple, and the development over the period according to the historical or the architectural study. Now we are entering into the Karnataka temple architecture. Karnataka architecture can be traced from Kadamba architecture. Kadambas were ruling in the Karnataka region before the Chalukyas. So they have built so many temples, out of which only one temple is available in intact now, and very few monuments are available now. But the origin of Chalukyan architecture could be traced from the Kadamba architecture. We can see the tribal architecture of Karnataka. This could be the first primordial structure of Shukanasi, or the emphasized position in the superstructure, and this could be the model for such a Shukanasi. And Shukanasi, even prescribed in Kamikagama, is not followed in Tamil Nadu, and Shukanasi is the special feature which was followed in Karnataka architecture. And some of the Andhra temples have Shukanasi by the influence of Karnataka architecture. This is the Pranaveshwara temple at Talakunda, which was built during the Kadamba period and renovated in the later period. But we can see the plain structure or the plain ground plan in this temple, which belongs to the first few centuries of the Common Era. Basic temple architecture is same as the Tamil Nadu architecture, except some of the decorative motifs. There are so many decorative motifs there in Karnataka architecture. So this is a typical Dravidian temple architecture followed in Karnataka. We can see the similarities. The Upapitha is there, and the Adhisthana. Only two Adhishthanas were followed in early Karnataka temple architecture: Kapota Bhadra and Kapota Bandha. The Kapota is of two types. The Tamil Nadu type of Kapota is there, as well as the North Indian type of Kapota is also there in the Karnataka temple architecture. And we have Jalakas even in the early period, which can be seen in 11th century CE in Tamil Nadu. And the Chalukyan architecture can be called as cultural magnet or the origin of temple architecture in South India, because they have pioneered in structural temples even during the end of 6th century CE, even during the period of Mangalesha, that is who ruled from 592 to 609. The Bananti Kudi is allotted, it is assigned to Mangalesha. So we can see that structural temples even from the end of 6th century CE, with the great structures and the motifs, as well as other structures followed later in Tamil Nadu. We can see the Jalakas as well as the compartments in the Bhitti or the wall, and we can see the Kuta Panjara, etc. in the superstructure, and the Grihapindi or the Ardharika or the superstructural inner side is very clear in Karnataka architecture than in Tamil Nadu architecture. Actually, the hara can be arpita or anarpita. If the hara and the hermia, that is the inner structure in the superstructure, are one and the same, and it is called as arpita vimana, where a ambulatory path is given there, then it could be called as anarpita vimana. We have so many types of anarpita vimanas in Tamil Nadu temple architecture, where in Karnataka architecture we have very few examples of anarpita vimana, and Kerala we have no temple with anarpita vimana. Here we can see the Karnakutas as well as the Nasikoshtas, which are typically followed in Tamil Nadu, and we can see the whole structure which follows the typical Dravidian temple architecture with the Ruchaka pillars, which is prescribed in Brihat Samhita and other North Indian texts. Dravida, Latina and Mundamala types of superstructure are found in this group. Latina type of group has Nagara and Rekha Nagara, etc. So these are the Latina type of superstructure in the left we can see, and Dravidian type of superstructure can be seen in the right. In left we have Shukanasi, the decorative motif, which was introduced during the 8th century CE by the Karnataka temple architecture, and we can see the plain Dravidian type of architecture in the right side. So we can see the differences. And the Rekha Nagara can be seen from Chakragudi of 5-hole, and the Kadamba Nagara type of Varandika type of this thing can be seen in Bhuvaraha Lakshmanasimha temple in Halasi. So this is called as Mundamala according to the Karnataka temple architecture, and the superstructure is called as Varandika, that is divide of the hara structures like Kuta, Panjara, etc. is called as Varandika, and we have a Guda Mandapa before that, which is decorated with Shukanasi above the superstructure, and we have a Mukhamandapa at the side. And a special feature can be seen in Karnataka architecture are the door frames. Here we are seeing the Aihole Durga temple, where Pancha Shakha, there is 5 door frames can be seen, that is Tamba Shakha, Ratna Shakha, Valli Shakha, and the Bhuta Shakhas are seen in the Shakhas, in the door frames, and door frames were seen in the Gupta temples as well as in Ajanta, and was followed by Karnataka temple architecture, and some of the Andhra architecture. Temple architecture has the feature wherein Tamil Nadu you cannot find such door frames or Dwara Shakas. Only few instances are there wherein Srinivasa Nallur and in Srirangam we have a Eka Shakha or a single door frame is available. But in Karnataka we have plenty of Dwara Shakas, that is Trishakha, Panchashakha, Ashtashakha, and we have plenty of Dwara Shakas in Karnataka temple architecture. As well as we have Lalatapatta, which in Garuda is depicted here, and Garuda holds the tiles of Nagastambha or the Naga Shakha, and we can see above the Shurasena type of motif above the Lalatapatta, which are the special features of Karnataka architecture. The Pamsanas and Shurasenas are the special motifs of Karnataka temple architecture, which cannot be seen in Andhra, Tamil Nadu or Kerala. Badami Chalukyas excelled in temple architecture, and their structural temples stand as testimony to the temples of earlier structure in the whole of South India. Miniatures were introduced after 8th century CE in Tamil Nadu, whereas we can see the Ramayana scenes and Mahabharata scenes in miniatures in Karnataka architecture even during the starting of 7th century CE. So these are some of the examples of the early Karnataka architecture. We can see along with the TSD group the Badami Fort, Upper Shivalaya and the Lower Shivalaya. Actually the Upper Shivalaya was a temple dedicated to Vishnu, and the Lower Shivalaya was dedicated for Vinayaka. And now we are seeing Aihole Meguti Jain temple, which has a small Mukhamandapa and a Godhamandapa followed with a Sanctum Sanctorium, and we can see the Kakshasana. The portion above the Kumuda is called as Kakshasana, which is filled with motifs. like Yakshas and Purnagatas, etc., etc. A special feature followed in Karnataka temple architecture, and we have a typical Dravidian Jagati. Actually, when comparing, we will see the Dravidian Jagati is replaced with Nagara Kumbha in Karnataka temple architecture, but here we can see a typical Dravidian Jagati with Kumuda, and the Kandhara RSS has so many motifs like Yakshas and Purnagatas, etc. And we have Kapota, South Indian typical Kapota there, and we have Jalakas and other items are there in the temple with Ruchaka type of pillars. And Badami Malagiti Shivalaya, we can see the whole Dravidian architecture there. Even the Koshtamurtis or the Naishas, images with Naishas can be seen here. But the predominant feature of Tamil Nadu structure is that the predominant images of deities can be seen in the Naishas, whereas in the Karnataka architecture, we have a few instances to show that the Naishas have predominant features. Even in the later period, we have so many Naishas and so many images of gods, but the pattern is not followed in Karnataka temple architecture, whereas in Tamil Nadu, the agamic prescriptions are followed in placing deities in directions in the Naishas. And the Badami Bhutanatha temple, we can clearly see the Dravidian temple architecture, where we can see the haras and etc. in the superstructure, and Ardhamandapa there is there, and we have a Mukhamandapa with a Mukha Chatushki with 4 pillars at the front, who is taking a photograph before that, and we can see a Mukha Chatushki, which is a special feature in Karnataka temple architecture in the early phase and was followed in Tamil Nadu in later times. And now we are seeing the Aihole Durga temple, which has a special feature that it has 2 ambulatory paths. The Alinda is doubled. Actually, the ambulatory path, if it is engulfed within a roof, then the Vimana should be called as Sandhara Vimana, and we have so many Sandhara Vimanas in Tamil Nadu and in Kerala, and in Karnataka we have a very few Sandhara Vimana. And in Virupaksheshwara temple, again we can see the typical Dravidian temple architecture. According to some scholars, this was influenced by the Kailasanatha temple at Kanchipuram. Rashtrakutas continued the tradition with more decorative elements. They continued the tradition of Chalukya architecture, and they have introduced their own decorative elements. This is one of such great, marvelous things. This could be called as one of the wonders of the world. The single monolithic temple which is biggest in the world is Ellora Kailasanatha temple. We have Padmachadya. In early Chalukya period, we had Nandyavarta, Matsya Chakra, etc., etc. But Rashtrakutas introduced Padmachatra or Padmachadya in the superstructure, a lotus type of structure in the Gudhamandapa or the Ardhamandapa, and there are some lines are depicted. This was introduced by the Rashtrakutas, and we have Bhadravalokanas, Indrakilaka, Matavarani, etc., etc. features are depicted in a single temple which is monolithic, which is unimaginable. We cannot imagine such a type of temple with a single stone. Gangas and other small contemporary kingdoms. Not only Gangas, we have Nolambas, we have Alupas, we have Nalavadi Vishaya, we have Gharapuri type of temples, and there are so many temples in Karnataka. They too followed and contributed so many towards the architecture. The carvings of Nolambas excelled each and everybody, and were the pioneers of Hoysalas in the later times. Here we can see the structure of Ganga temple. We can see the Dravidian type of temple in Karnataka built by Ganga king. And another Ganga type of architecture, we can see Bhoganandishwara temple from Kolar district. We can see a clear structure of a typical Dravidian temple influenced with the Karnataka type of architecture. We have decorative motifs of Karnataka temple architecture. And Kalyani Chalukyas, the later Chalukyas, followed by Hoysalas, developed the architecture to a high level. we can see the Trikuta, Panchakuta and Chatushkuta, that is 3 sanctum sanctoriums are there in a single temple. Combined Trikuta and combined Chatushkuta and combined Panchakutas even during the Kalyani Chalukya period, followed by the Hoysalas with carvings in each and every nook and corner. We can see carvings in Hoysala temple architecture. So this belongs to the Kalyana Chalukyas, Galageshwara temple from Galaganatha, Haveri district. We can see the Kakshasana in the earlier Chalukya period itself. Here we can see another temple which can be said as Mundamala, where we can see the Chatushkuta temple. And in Kerala temple architecture, we have a very simple ground plan and we have simple hut type of temples in Kerala. This could be the reason because the rainy season is very much prolonged in Kerala. So according to the season and the environmental situation, they have chosen this type of temple architecture in Kerala. Kerala temple architecture seems to have flourished from the period of Kulasekhara Varma, who is identified with the Kulasekhara Alvar of the 12 Alvars of Sri Vaishnavism, and he belongs to the first quarter of 9th century CE according to the scholars. So he started the Kerala temple architecture. With the available evidences, we are making this statement. If earlier structures are discovered or unearthed, this can be changed in the future. And even rocket temple architecture is seen from 8th century CE like Vizhinjam and Kottakkal, etc. This is the rocket temple architecture from Vizhinjam. We have a sanctum sanctorium with Shiva's images at both the sides. Kerala architecture has conical, hyped and pyramidal roofs or thatched over a wooden frame would be a temple. A simple structure with even thatch over a wooden frame can be called as temple. The same temple architecture might have been followed in Chidambaram. Chidambaram has a strong influence of Kerala, can be seen through the scriptures as well as the structure. If we see the painting from the big temple, Tanjavur big temple, we can assume the original structure of Chidambaram, which typically follows the Kerala temple architecture, as well as the Avadiyar temple, Tirupurundurai. We can see the Keralite influence over there. These are the tribal huts from Kerala side, and we can see the influence of huts, the tribal habitual areas, habitual structures in the temple architecture too. We have Kutakara structure derived from the tribal huts. Ancient adhishthanas are available in most of the ancient temples, and other structures starting from the wall, starting from the bhitti, are renovated periodically, because they have made with perishable elements like wooden structure and other structure. They are renovated periodically, but whereas the adhisthana, which is built by stone, is still intact, and we have inscriptions there in the adhishthanas by which the temples are dated. We have some examples from Thrissur Vadakunnathan temple, and we have Siddhivinayaka temple at Madhur Kasaragod. We can see the apsidal temple with the 2 roofs, and we can see 6 limbs, 6 parts of a temple, but the limbs are not separated or demarcated clearly. We can see the base, we can see the wall or the bhitti, we can see the prastara, which is some type of conical or a hut type superstructure is there because of the rainy season. And we have 2 more structures. This type of superstructure is called as Kailasa or Shurpakara Vimana in Matanga Parameshwara Agama, one of Upagama of the Shaivik tradition. So we have references for these even in Agamic text, but those type of temples were not followed in Tamil Nadu. In Kerala, we have plenty of examples of this type of Shurpakara temple or Shurpakara superstructure. Same of the temples are externally circular. Some of the temples are externally circular but square internally. For example, Ramantali, the exterior wall is different and the interior wall would be different structure. Exterior wall is circular, but internal wall is very square. If the external wall is apsidal, then in the internal wall should be apsidal in other temple architecture, whereas in Kerala temple architecture, the external wall is apsidal, then internal wall could be square or circular or anything can happen according to the imagination of the sculptor. The special type is the full circular structure, which is not found in tribal and civic structure, assumed a wide vogue in Kerala temple architecture. This is one of the special features of Kerala temple architecture. In Tamil Nadu, we have very few circular structures. These are some of the examples. In Thiruparkadal Sri Krishna Swami Ambalam from Kilperur, Thiruvananthapuram, we have a circular structure with a conical roof, and there are so many temples with circular structure in Kerala. It is difficult to identify all 6 limbs in Kerala temple architecture. Only Ekatala and Dvitala Vimanas are common, and Tritala Vimana, that is Vimana with 3 tires, is rarely found in Kerala. So 3 tala is the maximum tala. The Mahadeva temple from Tiruvanchikulam, we have a clear structure of Dravidian architecture roofed with Kerala type of architecture. We can see the same structure in Tirukulasekharapuram temple and another temple from Kerala, which is circular and 2-storied, and the above stories also has a circular wall, and we have a roof like a conical roof, like a hut. Now we are moving to the Andhra Odisha architecture. Now we are not concentrating on Odisha architecture or the Kalinga architecture. The Andhra architecture, which is influenced by the Kalinga architecture, is the main focus item of our lecture. Brick structures were unearthed recently from 1st century CE in Andhra, and we have so many reliefs from Amaravati, Jagayyapeta, Sannati, Ghantashala, etc., etc. So these are the traces of origin and development of temple architecture through the ages in Andhra. And we have rock cut excavations from 6th century CE onwards. We can see Undavalli caves near Vijayawada. We can see the mansions. We can see the 3-storied rock cut caves in Undavalli, and we cannot see such type of cave temples in Tamil Nadu or other places. From 6th to 9th century CE, we don't have any solid evidence of temple architecture, since they were renovated during the period of later Chalukyas, Eastern Chalukyas, and the later Chodas, etc., etc. From 9th century CE, Dravidian architecture is the backbone. But during the 6th to 9th century CE, we can see from the traces available today a strong influence of Kalinga architecture as well as the Dravidian architecture as well as the Karnataka architecture over the Andhra architecture. We can see so many decorative motifs and other architecture features in Andhra which excels others in terms of their special structure. Like we have a Bhumija Vimana in Andhra, which is not available in other states. It is very rare and unique. So we have all type of architecture put together in Andhra. So we can see a mixture of architectures in Andhra. From 9th century CE, we can see the Dravidian architecture influence in Andhra temples, because Cholas have occupied the whole Andhra, the Vengidesha, etc., etc. So we can see the Mada Kovils in Draksharama. We can see the clear Dravidian influence in Andhra. Earlier structures don't exceed 3 talas. The earlier structure didn't have talas above 3. Southern parts typically follow the Dravidian architecture, whereas the northern part follows Kalinga architecture. We can see the Srimukham and other Srikakulam other district. We can see the Kalinga architecture influence like Valabhi, Khakara, etc., etc. And the Valabhi structure is typically followed only in Tamil Nadu and in Andhra in early period. That was not the Vegan type of roof is not followed in Karnataka and Kerala. It is followed in Tamil Nadu and Andhra in early period. In later period, it was followed in even in Karnataka. And this is from Buchavolu Shivalayam 1, where we can see the clear cut evidence of Dravidian temple architecture. The Karnas are there, and the Bhadra Naishas are there, and even between there we can see a Salilantra portion there, and the Adhisthana, the Padavarga, as well as the superstructure all follow the typical Dravidian temple architecture. And we can see the mixture of Kalingan architecture in the superstructure, particularly in the dome in the Shivalaya number 2 in Bichavalu. And in Bhimeshwara temple at Draksharamam, we can see the Madakala temple, the Madakovil, the inspiration got from the Tamil Nadu, and that was built during the 10th century CE. Even in the later centuries in Andhra, we can see the Nagara temple type of architecture in Andhra, in Chebrolu, Rajalakshmi temple, and we have so many mixture of architectures in Andhra. Some special features. Tamil Nadu, the special features are, it has Anarpita Vimanas in numbers, that is the Hara is separated from the Hermia, and we have Madakovils, and that was introduced in Andhra later, and projection of Karna and Bhadra is very clear, is very fine. Across the Vinyasa Sutra, the projection is made, which is not available in other temple architectures. And Koshtamurtis are distinct and are prescribed in the scriptures. Whereas in Karnataka, we have Shukanas introduced in the middle of 8th century CE, and we have Dwarashakas or door frames, and we have Varandikas without any superstructural decorative elements like Kuta, Panjara, etc. We have a plain superstructure like Varandika, which is introduced in Karnataka. And mixture of Dravidian, Rekha and Kadamba Nagara can be seen in Karnataka temple architecture, and double ambulatory paths and excellent carvings are there in the Karnataka temple architecture. In Kerala temple, we have full Veshara temples, that is full circular temples are there in Kerala, and internal and external differences are there in the walls. If it is internally circular, then it could be externally obsidian. So such differences are there only in Kerala, and simple superstructure with simple lips can be seen in Kerala. And in Andhra, mixture of Dravidian, Kalinga, Karnataka architecture can be seen. Even some of the points of North Indian architecture are taken into account in building the Andhra temples. And Toranas and Pratolis are the special types of Andhra temple architecture. And during the period of Kakatiyas, we can see so much Toranas and Pratolis. And Kakatiyas excelled in carvings, and they have introduced so many new features in Andhra. And some similarities. All limbs and basic structure are almost the same, except Kerala. Almost all features are same in Karnataka, Andhra, as well as in Tamil Nadu temple architecture. And if we compare the Adhisthana, first we have Adhisthana from Tamil Nadu, Kailasanatha temple from Kanchipuram. We have a plain Upana, Jagati decorated with Bhutas, and we have a Kumuda, which is Ashtashra or octagonal, which is decorated with Ratnapattas, and we have a Kantha, and we have a Pattika Aravajanam there, and we have a small elephant decorative motif there in the Kantha portion. If we see the Karnataka temple architecture, we have a Upana, but instead of Dravidian Jagati, a North Indian Kumbha is introduced. Kura and Kumbha are introduced, and we have Vritta Kumuda, and we have the South Indian type of Kapota over there along with its elements. And if we go to Pattadakal in the Karnataka temple architecture, we have Kura Kumbha and Tripatta Kumuda, or the octagonal Kumuda is there, and Kapota we have. And in the Trishur Vadakunathan temple, the Adhisthana itself is very simple, where we have a Upana and a Upopana and a Jagati, a Vritta Kumuda, a Kantha with decorative motifs, and a Kapota, which is not decorated with Nasi and other things, is available in Kerala temple. We cannot see so many decorative motifs in Kerala temple. In later stage, the carvings were introduced in the Pranalikas or the water paths in Kerala temple. But in the early period, we cannot find fine carvings or so many architectural motifs in Kerala temples. And in Andhra, we have same type of Karnataka architecture, we have some sort of Kurakumbha is there, decorated with so many carvings which were introduced by Kakatiya dynasty, and we have a Kapota, and we have a Vedika, Mancha Vedika, which is carved with so many animal items and some dancing apsaras. And we have some Karnataka architecture again. And again, we have later stage, we have sort of adhishthanas like this from Parayari Someshwara temple, where we have the adhishthanam for Balipitham with Upapitha and Padmabandha adhisthana. And we can see Tadipatri, which belongs to a later period in Andhra. We can see the clear influence of Hoysala architecture over the Andhra architecture, where even the adhisthana is projected with so many projections and carved from tip to bottom. And again, we are seeing so many special carved items from Andhra architecture, which has influence of Tamil Nadu architecture as well as Karnataka temple architecture. And Ramappa temple, which belongs to Kakatiya period. Here we can see the full influence of Karnataka architecture with the North Indian borrowed through the Kalinga temple architecture. So the mixture of Kalinga temple architecture with the Karnataka architecture with the indigenous Andhra, that is Dravidian architecture, can be seen in the Kakatiya period. Even the Mukhamandapa and the Goda Mandapa and the Sanctum Sanctorium has so many carvings. And we can see the Kedareshwara temple belongs to the Kalyani Chalukyas, which has carvings and other things according to that period. And we have Pattadakal Sangameshwara temple, where we can see the Nagara temple as well as the Dravidian temple in same place. And we have Hampi Vithala temple, which belongs to the Vijayanagara regime. And we have so many carvings. The carvings and the decorative motifs increased through the ages. But the basic plan as well as the superstructure stayed intact or stayed the same as the earlier structure. We can see so much carvings and images and motifs in the walls as well as in the Kandhararas and other portions of the temple. And we have in Kerala, Krishna temple from Tiruchambaram, Taliparambara, and we have the 9th century temple, which has so many Dravidian architecture with Kerala roof. And in Mahadeva temple at Kandiur, Alapura, we can see the carvings of Dravidian one, and the upper portion is renovated. The upper portion with the carvings are renovated in the later period, and only the Adhisthana along with the stars are belongs to earlier period. And we have circular structure from Kerala, from Ganapati Ingavu temple from Palakkad. And we have Mahadeva temple from Kottayam, which is fully circular, and a huge circular temple can be seen here. And the Subramanya temple, which is apsidal and has so many koshtas with the Kilivadalar, the Nasika structure, as well as the superstructure is apsidal. And we have so many special features in the Griva section too. And the Mahalingeshwara temple from Kasaragod, we have so many decorative items even in the Hara structure. We don't have any Kuta, Panjara, Shala, etc. Instead of that, we have so many decorative motifs over the Hara structure. I hereby acknowledge the line drawings, images from VMAS.in, Virtual Museum of Images and Sounds, and MA Dhaki, and most of the images were given by Tamil Heritage Trust archives, and some of the photos have been taken from the internet. And I wholeheartedly thank each and every person of Tamil Heritage Trust for providing me this golden opportunity to present some of my ideas over the South Indian temple architecture. I wholeheartedly express my sincere gratitude to one and all for providing me this opportunity, and I express my thanks for the viewers too. Thank you very much.